Watch Johnny's bite.
You know, I've watched you. Sometimes our people disagree with you, but I mean, I understand some of your
Sunrise
approach. I mean,
on
sometimes we
3
take
FM.
a hard bite. It helps us as well.
Nowadays, when I listen to you, I even panic.
Why?
Maybe, hey,
Why do you panic?
the way you, Papa, you know Papa.
Figuratively, he bites as hard as he can.
Okay.
And of course, when he puts his fangs into you, you certainly feel it. I think it prickles.
Watch Johnny's bite.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over, and surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. Assalamu alaikum. It's Wednesday, the 18th of June. Welcome to Johnny's Bite. This morning, I'm happy that you can once again connect with us, and we have life and we have hope and we have breath. We ought to give thanks and praise to the Almighty God, because it is indeed Him who has sustained us up unto this point. It is not by might, not by power, but by the Spirit, says the Lord. This morning, I also want to thank all our taxi driver friends, all our trot driver friends, all our Uber, Bolt, Yango, Shaxi, all our market women friends, all our friends who are driving in their private vehicles or patching with somebody, those who are listening to us while walking with their earpods stuck in their ears. I mean, wherever you are watching us from, we appreciate you. We celebrate your friends in the diaspora, those who watch us across the world, those who have just returned from work, their night shift, and they are not ready to hit the sack, but first they want to listen to us. We appreciate you. We know that some people pretend not to watch, but some people also watch. Thank you to Grandpa Clothing as well. Grandpa Clothing is in Dansoman, and he made this lovely green outfit for me, so beautiful. I think I'm falling in love with the color green. And yesterday when I was at the Corpus Christi event I told you about yesterday. The Reverend Dr. Patrick Okanja Bortier delivered a very, very impressive speech there at the symposium, and the takeaway points for me were the fact that you have to be focused as a mass server. You don't have to be distracted while you are on the altar, and then most importantly, because people are looking up to you, you don't have to, pander to everything while you're on the sanctuary, because the congregation, as it were, is looking up to you, and you have to maintain your poise and posture. So yesterday, it really, made me start, looking at life from a very, very different perspective and asking some questions as well. But that's just by the by. Now, yesterday also, when we were leaving, we left the church and we're going home, I was going to drop a friend of mine. He asked me, have you heard this new song by Jackie? I said, is it? He said, new song. What new song? He said, Jackie, Nana Champon's daughter. You don't hear the song? I said, what song are you talking about? He said, there's a song, You're Living Inside My Head, Rent Free, Rent Free. I said, what song is that? So tuned to that, went on YouTube, and then we turned out the speaker, and then I said, but this one is not a new song. He said, but why are you making it a new song? I said, well, You're Living Inside My Head. And I listening to it, replaying Rent Free, Rent Free. I said, wow, that's a good song. So it's a new banger. I mean, it's a banger, by the way, not a new one. You should check it out. You're Living Inside My Head, Rent Free, Rent Free. Initially, I thought it was saying Gen Z, but they said, no, it's not Gen Z. Gen Z is Rent Free, Rent Free. I said, yeah, that's so good. Now, yesterday also, the young people of this country, a good majority of the young people of this country, sat and completed their BECE, the Basic Education Certificate Examination. It reminded me of my time more than 25 years ago when I sat for it at my own Saito school, Kaneshi Anglican GSS. So yesterday I went back there and I saw some of the children, and it brought me a lot of nostalgia. In fact, I was working on some document in the parish office when one of the children just, after wrote the paper, just ran across the park, like in a R. Kelly, I believe I can fly fashion, and said, maybe. Listen to the children. Listen to them. It brought back a lot of nostalgia. They're going home, they're excited, and usually you would have, as in that Jamashin, that Jama jubilation, after all that focus in the exam room, we're out there having a lot of fun and all of that. For me, what we need to do as a country and as a people is to have a lot of focus for these youngsters. And most of these youngsters, in terms of the choice of schools that they attend, in terms of the career path that they choose, in terms of the mentorship that they get, in terms of how they conduct their life going forward and growing up, is very, very important. I mean, you look at some of your colleagues from back in the day in school, and then you start asking questions. Well, but when we were in school, this guy, this lady was good, typical Saito school, but we can mention the likes of Dr. Julius Abuku, many others. I mean, the list is endless, but, well, we make progress. Now, I want to also give you some good updates about the Ghana Health Service. But before we go to the Ghana Health Service, the conversation about being focused is a very, very important one for me. I've been talking about it over the last few months. I found that people get easily distracted by a lot of things that happen around them. So there's somebody who has some amount of money, wants to go shopping, gets into the shop, and there's a lot of impulse buying instead of the focus buying. You find that there is, for example, Johnny's Bites doing focused work, asking authority the questions, getting the answers from the authorities, and then you find that distractions come here and there. So we're asking about why the streets in Accra is dark, in other major cities why it's dark, where the street lights are. A group is asking for the minister in charge of local government, where are street lights that we procured, over 3,000 of them, what happened to them? We're asking the National Road Safety Authority, what happened to the road markings? We're asking questions about reflectors. We're asking questions about, traffic lights. We're asking questions about overgrown median. We're asking questions why people are stealing cables from transformers. We're asking questions as to why Ghana Water Company will be disconnected by Electricity Company of Ghana, which could affect, water flow and all. We're asking all these questions. These are the relevant questions that we're asking. We're asking questions about, for example, the mayor of Accra decongesting Accra so we can all drive through Accra nicely. And these days, you see the traffic flow is so cool. I just, this dawn drove through the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. You can see how, things are, people are sweeping, people are gathering things. And yesterday, for example, the AMA mayor said, what we want to do is to start the 24-hour economy, where we will make sure that the city is 24-hour clean. Something that we were promised but never happened. I'll make Accra the cleanest city in the... You remember that? We were talking about fighting corruption, for example. Who has taken what and what has to be taken away from those people, how they have to be punished for it. Those are the focused questions that Ghanaians keep asking. If, for example, in the various schools, there's not a problem about food shortage or they being fed expired food and, we're asking why, what's working this time round? Headmasters are not complaining that we are not getting food. We're asking the questions, what is happening now? These were problems that we used to complain about in the past, in the bite. So now, if the things are working, you ought to start asking questions. Okay, what is making it work? That's how to run an analysis, a very basic analysis. And because a lot of young people watch this platform, it is important to guide them through how to do this. And over time, they also become masters of the game and even become better at the game. It is not about paying attention to, all the distractions and everything that goes. So I promised you that I was going to tell you about the Ghana Health Service. Now, the Mpox or monkeypox, as the update is becoming quite threatening and worrying. And increasingly, you find people who tell others that, if you Ghana Health Service for you can still have your bush meat, you can still have your relationship with your, bush animals and etc., and nothing will happen. This is the update from the Ghana Health Service. As of 12 June, newly confirmed cases 6, total confirmed cases 91. There's 0 deaths and total deaths are 0, of course. 2 are on admission. That's official from the Ghana Health Service, and as part of our public service announcement, we would have to put it out there. So, for example, we had a recording the last time. I saw a monkey. I said, look, stay away from monkeys and other bush animals. Can we see our friend the monkey? This is a monkey that we know, but we're trying to avoid the monkey. And put the monkey up there, please. We're trying to avoid the monkey and other bush animals. And you should as well avoid other monkeys and other bush animals. Now, there's a success story that we want to show you, a scorecard. Since we started talking about galamsey or gather and sell, which is not what it used to be, but now it's gone to the point where people buy heavy-duty equipment, they assemble chamfans here, they go into the riverbed, the water bodies, and they start destroying everything. They go into the forest, start digging their way. Our river bodies are messed up. We started talking about it, and fiercely so. We have had, in the past, investments made in the area of galamsey. Operation Vanguard, Operation Halt 1 and 2, Operation Galam Stop. We have had all those initiatives done. We've bought drones. We've sent people's fathers and mothers in the name of military, immigration, and police into the bush. It didn't work. Last week, I showed you how Dr. Hanabisu, for example, went into the bush to get some people arrested. As a policeman was standing in their way. We have complained about it over and over again. Now, over the time, our insistence has been that, look, let's stop focusing on just going into the pits or into the bush or into the water bodies to pick up the people who claim that they're finding, bread for their family to feed because they are breadwinners. But let's look beyond them. Who bought them the chamfans? Who bought them the excavators? And I've said this since 19 Kojohoho, that when you see an excavator and you take the motherboard and you burn it, by the time you go and come back, the motherboard would have been replaced and that excavator would have gone. We have in this country seen missing excavators before. So the proposition and the solution that I had proposed many times in the past, that was not paid attention to, was that, look, find the owners of these excavators by tracing the chassis numbers and all of that. And now if you go to the DVLA to go and register your stuff, the chassis number and everything, VPN or what they call it, it will be made known. So if the DVLA keys in the registration number, it will pop up. I have said this over and over again in terms of biting. Now, this is what the DVLA has done, giving us a solution and some assurance. This is just yesterday. 17th of June 2025, so the quarters of the DVLA. And Logas, good morning to you. It says press release. Mandatory notice of transfer of ownership in mining and construction equipment. The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority wishes to inform all dealers and owners of mining and construction equipment that it is mandatory to notify the authority of a change in ownership of such equipment within 14 days after sale, as per Regulation 17.1 of the Road Traffic Regulation 2012 at LI 2180. The authority wishes to further to inform leaders and owners that failure to comply with this requirement can result in legal implications with its attendant consequences. In light of this, and having taken steps to register these equipment in the name of dealers and importers at the various ports of entry, DVLA advises all dealers and owners of mining and construction equipment to ensure that transfer of ownership is effected immediately after sale. DVLA wishes to indicate that it will be enforcing this regulation strictly, and any dealer or owner who fails to comply will face the full rigors of the law. All dealers and owners of mining and construction equipment are therefore encouraged to visit the nearest DVLA office to facilitate the transfer or ownership of these equipment. The public is assured of the authorities' commitment to providing efficient and effective services in this regard. Issued by management, it says DVLA, your safety are concerned. Now, how difficult was it to have done this in the past? Because if you ask a question and you don't get an answer, and all you get are insults and allegations, you will keep asking the questions. That's the whole basis of staying focused. So I'm asking what Logas Nikwe is doing now at DVLA by asking that if Kunzo Tiani, for example, is the dealer, he imports excavators and brings it into the country, and is importing it for Fosti, for example, or Dani, and then it comes in, that change of ownership, how difficult was it to have been done so that if we go and see an excavator, we quickly check the VPN or the chassis number and know who owns it, so that the enforcement authorities can go after that person to say, we found your excavator in the river and Cobra, we found your excavator in the Etiwa forest or whichever forest, and then based on that, we are holding you for it. How did your excavator get here to be destroying our forest? How difficult was it in the past? It didn't take 1 year for somebody to sit and think that we can stop galamsey also through this avenue. It's one of the many avenues through which you can stop galamsey. And we've been seeing the arrest happening. The only point of disagreement will be that the government will give the foreign nationals a free pass out of this country. I said it then, I'm saying it now. The only failure will be that people will be arrested, and what they are arrested with will not be declared. For example, guns, for example, light, for example, cyanide, for example, mercury, for example, cash, and all of those things. There are questions to ask. But I'm asking, how difficult was it for the DVLA in the past, whose job it is to make sure that every moving vehicle is registered in somebody's name? So that if a dealer brings in 100 excavators, the dealer doesn't maintain ownership of all those 100 excavators, when we know that the dealer is not the real man who owns all the 100 excavators, because some people may have bought some of the 100 excavators. How difficult was that? And if we said that in the past, and there was a mampamistic approach to listening to it, and now somebody has come and we spoke about it once and twice, and it has been done, should we keep asking the same question? It will be Pasco, because that question, that exam, like the BECE now, if you put it in front, if you put that English paper in front of the children this morning, they will tell you they have written that paper already. Unless there's a receipt to be done, they will tell you they have written that paper already with Pasco. You know, so these are very basic things, and this is what the platform stands for. This is what journalism is about: getting real impact in real time in the interest of the people, not for your pocket, not for yourself, not for your stomach, not for your cronies and allies, but in the interest of the people. For the people who cannot pick their passports and fly out to say that they are going to have a surgery and it will take them forever to come into the country, to come and answer simple questions about allegations of corruption and crime that has been made against them. In the interest of pregnant women in the hinterland who are drinking bad water and giving birth to children with a lot of defects. In the interest of the mob rowers who also live in the forest and who used to live on fish that they go and catch from the rivers and streams and lakes, in the interest of those people. That was what we were taught in journalism school, that we should stand for the people and not to masquerade around. We should stand for the people. These days they say, oh, everybody can pick up a microphone and become a journalist. There are rules of the game. There are rules of the profession. And that is why Edmund Beck called it the fourth estate of the realm. The three arms of government are supposed to be conducting checks and balances. But the media is supposed to also ask questions. So, for example, if the people of the Republic of Ghana knew that or know that there's galamsey, yes, it's a fact. They've been asking questions. The opinions are scattered. The views are scattered. The media's job is to help to shape that conversation. And in shaping that conversations, the questions that you're asking 5Ws, 1H will help to shape that conversation. If that conversation is already shaped, you publish it. In this instance, the conversation was not shaped. So we help to shape it that, look, stop catching the small people. Because if you finish catching the small people, you would not have achieved anything, because the big people will still go and hire other small people and bring them back to the same spot and a luta continua. So what do? Go to the next step. Leave the small boys, arrest them, let the Lord deal with them anyway, but beyond them, pick the equipment, check the chassis number, in whose name is it registered, and go and find it. It was obvious that we're having challenges there. Now with this new directive by the new DVLA administration, they say, look, if you're a buyer, a dealer, and you acquire these things, and you do not, look, put the galamsey images out there. If you're a buyer or a dealer, and you acquire these things, and you don't come to us to tell us who has bought it from you, or who has the change of ownership, etc., we will deal with you. The law will find you and deal with you. It's a very simple way of doing things. And that's simple journalism. And that is what we have nicknamed or codenamed scorecard. We spoke about it. More than 3 years. It took 6 months, maybe less. And somebody has given us a solution that looks like something that will work. It took 6 months. You remember that earlier in June, I think 11th or so in June, find me that pregnant woman. It's a pregnant woman. It's a story that people are not telling. Some of us who live in the city, who live in concrete jungles, who live in air conditioners, who think that we have clean water running through our taps, so everything is okay, we are fine, everything is nice. They don't know that in some of the villages, if you listen to the pregnant woman, even though it's not a justification, she said, look, my farmland, which I used to feed from as a subsistence farmer, has been taken away from me by these galamseyers. I have no option than to join them. Honestly, do you think that if she were farming her small tomatoes here, her small onions, garden egg, blah, 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 which has a gestation period of 3 months, she would go and join people to go and do galamsey so that when the law enforcement agencies come chasing, they would leave her behind and she'll be the only one arrested? Do you think, if you have your heads properly screwed on and you are listening to the right kinds of conversation, do you think that you'll be thinking along those lines? It is the people who must be central in every kind of journalism that we practice. Not to be explaining how some people have unexplained wealth. And you have people on various platforms explaining how people got unexplained wealth and why nobody should be questioning why they should have unexplained wealth. I ask myself, how did we get there? Is there no longer merit in the country? So that upapam bobra, ukra bobra, no, that mantra that suddenly came up. You look at the NSS scandal. You look at the national security things. You look at the various scandals that have been mentioned. You look at the amounts of monies that have been mentioned. You look at how some of the videos in the past, they remain allegations, but the Attorney General is firm in his mind that, look, these people have done something wrong and these people ought to be put before the law. What is our business trying to defend people even before they have their day in court? We can only repeat what the learned Attorney General has said and what counsel or what they have said. We cannot go into the sub judice issues. And I'm not a lawyer, by the way. I have not attempted to be one, by the way. But we cannot. The people should be the focus of our conversations. When fuel prices go up, we will ask questions on behalf of the people, because not everybody will have access to the microphone. When our lights go off, we will ask questions on behalf of the people. Kunzo, was it not just about 3.5 weeks ago when I came here and said that, look, PURC may not have recognized, or it may not have come to the attention of PURC that we were paying for electricity that is supposed to be 220 to 240 volts, and we're getting 280 and 216. And I proved it on TV with a gadget. That is how you defend the people. Because that young man who has slaved for 4 years and has been able to acquire a small TV and a microwave and a fridge, because of that bad supply from ECG, he would have lost those things if we hadn't spoken up. That is how you defend the people. That is how journalism is supposed to be practiced. That is how you're supposed to be the fourth estate of the realm. Put that image up. I put this image, Shadrach, please lose the super. I put this image up on TV because I used the proper equipment to check and to tell. Today, the situation has changed. Do you still hear people complaining that they have low voltage and that when they buy credit, do you still hear people say those things? I use the proper equipment to check. Verification. We are taught that in journalism. I put it up there. I showed PURC. Yesterday when we had the Corpus Christi, it had moved from 220, I think 223 to 24 thereabout. So this is the journalism we're talking about. Now, pay attention to the pregnant woman, please. And this is a story filed by William Evans Inkum.
On June 11, TV3 reported that an eligible BECE candidate at the Duampompo MA Junior High School has abandoned the BECE for galamsey. After the story, the Joburg Municipal Assembly promised to investigate the matter.
Yet to find out, because the headmaster was also going around. So when we get to the office, we was called to find out.
A special task force led by the MCE, Eunice Ohinewa and Sue, has raided some known galamsey sites.
When we went around last Wednesday, what we saw, we need to come and call all the assembly members together so that we can come and find out if the children are still at the site. And honestly, when we came, we saw a lot of them. But because we have the security following us, they all ran to the bush. So I'm very worried about that. And as from today, what we are saying is that from today, no operation. We have banned the operation from today. No.
The illegal miners fled upon seeing the task force. However, a heavily pregnant woman who has neared labor could not flee. Cecilia Usua was arrested but later released due to her condition.
Now, hitherto, who would have spoken for this woman if it had not been a journalist? And how would you, sitting in Accra, have known that something like this was happening? It's a question. Yesterday, the Kolebu Medical School caught fire. And yesterday around like 1 a.m., the Kolebu Medical School caught fire. Yesterday. And Alex Kinate put out the video, Kolebu Medical School, on fire. The question that we should be asking as journalists is, where would they be sleeping? Where would they be sleeping? The trainee doctors, those who are close to them, who teach them, those who mentor them, put the video up. Where would they sleep? That is the job of a journalist, to be asking questions on behalf of the people, the questions that the people cannot ask. Where would they be sleeping? What caused the fire? Why at this time? Is somebody behind it? Who could be behind it? And if there's nobody behind it, what could have caused it? That's the real deal. That's the bite. That's the real deal. Since we put the medical school up, have we improved the infrastructure? Have we added on to it? Have we expanded so we can get more people training as doctors? Okay, so when the people qualify as doctors, what's our plan for them? You know, while we build, are we considering also how when they graduate from school? And I kept mentioning that question. That's my last point. I kept mentioning that question. When we started this whole free SHS enterprise, and we were busy talking just about numbers. We have improved access. We have improved access. I said, that's a good thing. But after you finish improving access, and people started asking questions about quality. But that was not even my main focus. You have improved access. We are mentioning numbers. That's fine. We are providing for more people to go to school. That's a good thing. And I've not departed from that point. I've just not been happy about how it has been implemented thus far. But we're talking about access. Were we also thinking about expanding accommodation in our various universities, for example, and in our various lecture halls, so that when these SHS or free SHS people graduate or they leave secondary school, we can easily inject them without they having to go and queue year on year at the various universities trying to look for accommodation and for spaces to lay their heads? It's a basic question. That is journalism. It is not to come and tell us that we have numbers and leave it there. When you talk about the shotgun, you must tell us whether the shotgun was fired, who was fired, how it was fired, when it was fired, where it was fired, and why it was fired. It's basic. It's called level 3 journalism. I'll leave it here. Please call me 055-924-2717 at 055-691-0154. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.